I think we're ready to get started now. Sorry about that, just a little technical glitch. Welcome, everybody. My name is Karena Stipp. I think I know most of you in the room, and happy to see you here today. We are going to, oh, man. Oh, well, that's why I clicked out of it. Hang on. There we go. We're going to talk about lifelong learning today, and our guest speaker is Rhonda Parker from Duke OLLI program, correct? Yes. So I am going to hand over to her and get her computer hooked up, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and then we're going to talk about lifelong learning this morning.
All right. Well, thank you. So I can try. Is that better? If I hold it a little bit closer? Yeah? It's just okay. I want it to be great. How about in the back? Can you hear me okay back there? He's turning me up. Better? Okay, great. My name is Rhonda Parker. I'm a North Carolina native. I grew up in Wilmington. Came up here to Durham to do my undergraduate education at Duke. Fell in love with experiential education while I was at Duke, and have spent the entirety of my professional life in that space in a wide variety of ways. I was one of those kids who really envied the people who could learn a lot by reading a book or writing a paper or giving a talk, but I always learned the most when I actually did the things. So that's been the heart and soul of my career. I have been at OLLI at Duke for about a year and a half as the director, and this is by far the most engaging, most demanding, and most rewarding thing I've done. So I want to talk a little bit about OLLI with you this morning, and I'll explain what that acronym stands for and give you kind of the big picture. But I think what drives our program, and probably you, is a love of learning in all the ways that we do that. And I think the reason that Karena asked me to come and speak today was because lifelong learning, like continuing to learn throughout our lives, is one of the ways that ages us well. What are the others? Do you know? Good. Staying active, like moving your body. And it doesn't have to be running a marathon, although it might be running a marathon. But just keeping your body moving, whether you're gardening or taking a yoga class or coming here. I saw some folks coming in this morning to work out or just taking good walks, like staying physically active. What else? There are 3 more.
Proper eating.
Good. Nutrition and staying healthy, eating well. And at least what they tell me is eating well early in life is just as important as eating well later in life. So I've been trying to drive that home with my 5 kids. Yeah. What else? Yes, that's actually number 1. So we just got the number 1 factor in aging well, which is staying socially active. It's hard sometimes, maybe particularly if you live alone, to make yourself get out the door and go to a gaming club or go to a book club or show up for an event. But staying socially active and having friends, like cultivating friendships, is the number 1 driver of aging well. What's the last one? Yeah, meaning and purpose. Yeah, meaning and purpose. Finding something to do with your time that gives you a sense of meaning and purpose. Often that's volunteering somewhere. It could be, reading with kids after school. It could be being engaged in a faith community. And then I'll throw in a footnote. I think gratitude and trying to maintain a positive outlook is kind of the icing on the cake. So those are sort of the secrets to aging well, which you probably all know. Do I want to allow this? Yes, I do want to allow this. It was nice of the computer to ask. So that's the secret sauce. So you already know the secret sauce to aging. At OLLI, we actually focus on all 5 of those. They're all part of our program. And so OLLI stands for the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. And there are 124 Osher programs in the United States. They were all endowed by Bernard Osher, who made a lot of money and decided that the legacy he wanted to leave for himself and for others was the gift of of leaning in as we age and aging well through continued learning. And so we cultivate curiosity and an intellectual humility and a spirit of camaraderie in everything that we do. Our program is located at Duke University. There is also an OLLI program in Raleigh at NC State. There's a program at UNC Wilmington, and there's a program at UNC Asheville. Those are the 4 programs in North Carolina. And although they're all unique, they all share this common mission of providing lifelong learning opportunities for people. So I want to start with just a fun question for you. I actually have 2 fun questions for you, but this is the first, and this is kind of for everybody. What would draw you in more if you knew that you could learn something new, meet some really, really interesting people, or have a memorable experience? What would make you say, yes, I want to do that? All of them? All of them? I have to say it's kind of all of them for me too. But we do all these things. And my second question is, if you could take a class, this is a small group, so we'll just do this as a group. If you could take a class next month on anything you wanted, what would it be? What would you want to take a class about?
I'm just going to go wild because I've been thinking about this in my life. I
Sure.
really wish, and I know I never do this, that I knew how to fly an airplane.
How to fly an airplane. I love that. Yeah. What else would you guys want to take a class on?
It's not going to fit the group, but computational fluid dynamics.
Computational fluid dynamics. How many people want to sign up for a class with Tom?
It's weirder than mine.
It's weirder. Okay. What else would you take a class on if you could pick anything?
Foreign language, maybe. That would be cool.
A foreign language, that's a good one. What language would you want to learn?
German.
German. Mein Leder Jacke. That's what I remember from my 6 weeks of German. Nope. Tom knows some German too.
A little bit, yeah.
Enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. And get into trouble.
Anybody else? One or 2 more you'd want to take a class in? Places to travel. We just finished up a class called Find Your Travel Style, which I thought was kind of interesting. And while we haven't had a computational fluid dynamics class, we do have a class on graph theory and mathematics of voting and some other kind of physics-y related stuff, which is not my genre, but it is definitely some people's. How about over here? You guys are so quiet. Computer classes, like how to use Gmail and Google Drive and all that stuff, or maybe? Okay. We've been doing some AI classes that have gotten pretty rave reviews. People are really interested in how all of that works and how you can make it work for you.
Art history.
Art history, great. We have a wonderful art history program, including a partnership with the North Carolina Museum of Art here in Raleigh. So we teach a couple classes over here. All right, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do, but I want you to keep in mind that I'm not just speaking for OLLI at Duke. I'm really trying to help you think about what lifelong learning is in general and programs that are available to you either here through this center or through other OLLI programs or even other lifelong learning programs. There are a lot of great programs, and they're not enough to meet the need. Our program at Duke is large. We have about 2,100 active members in the program at Duke. About 200 of those people live far away, out of state. They participate in our online program. And then we have people who live locally who don't want to drive, or they can't drive anymore, or they're recovering from a surgery, or they're traveling, who will often choose to take an online class. So we offer about 240 to 250 classes a year. We do that on a kind of a traditional academic calendar. So we'll have a fall term and a winter term, and then we'll have a really short spring term. We don't typically run classes over the summer unless they're just online. In addition to offering courses, we have kind of I would call it like a full menu of other options. We have social programs. We have what are called special interest groups that are organized by our members, and I can talk about some of those. We have some one-off lectures where you can just come and hear a speaker for one morning or one evening. And we have a really vibrant travel program for people who want to travel. We do both domestic and international travel programs. We are a member-led, member-driven organization, and by that I mean that I might officially captain the ship, but everybody else on that ship is a volunteer. We have a very small staff and a very large member-led community, and that means that members drive the programming. They decide what classes we want to offer, what travel programs we want to do, what social engagements we want to be engaged in, what volunteer opportunities we're going to say yes to. And because people are investing their time and their talent and their gifts to make the community work, you'll find that people are really committed and invested, and they form really great relationships. Because as you know, when you serve alongside with another person, you develop a bond. And so part of the magic of what makes OLLI work is the volunteer culture and the friendships that are created from that. So I said a little bit about this. This is a chat we had last fall with Frank Bruni, who is a New York Times columnist. He's at Duke right now as a visiting fellow in the public policy department, and we asked him if he would come and chat with us about what he's been up to, and that was a really engaging conversation. And you can't really see him, but on the other side is Mike Woodard, who's a former representative from Durham to the North Carolina House. So they had a really good conversation. Our curriculum covers what we call 12 different disciplines. Some of them are pretty academic sounding, like traditional, what you would imagine if you were at a community college or a college. So we have history and art history and science and math, and we have the arts. But we also have some things like wellness and society and culture and writing. We have lots of writing programs. So there's a lot to pick and choose from. Some of those classes are taught by current or retired Duke faculty. Many of those classes are taught by people who are currently or who currently are working or have retired, and kind of from like a place in their profession where they're able to speak with some real authority or insight, and they want to pass along what they've learned. And I think I already said we have both online and in-person learning. Our in-person learning is by and large in Durham, which, as I was reminded this morning, is not very close to Wake Forest. But if you want to drive to Durham, or you end up moving to Durham someday, we're right in your backyard. So, and I think I said this too, this is just a really fun picture from the talk Frank did. He was pretty funny, so we got a lot of really good laughs. But we are much more than just classes. And I think that's been sort of the most wonderful thing that's happened for us in the last few years. COVID shut everything down for all of us. everything went online. Our entire program made a huge pivot to online. It was a crash course. People did great. But now that we're kind of post-pandemic, we've been really working to rebuild opportunities beyond the classroom. And some of those are in Raleigh, worth paying attention to. Sometimes people ask me who makes up our 2,100 person membership. By and large, people who are retired or people who are nearing retirement, and they're thinking about what am I going to do in my retirement. A lot of the folks who are part of our community have relocated to the Triangle from somewhere else. How many of you relocated here? Yeah, that's pretty consistent. People often relocate here to be near their children or their grandchildren, or they've done their homework and researched and realized that this is a wonderful place to retire, partly because we have such a vibrant university life here, but also we have great healthcare options here. The quality of life is really high, and the cost of living is moderate compared to some other places that have similar features. We tend to draw on people who are pretty educated, and that could be in a formal academic sense, but it could be in a life well-lived sense. I think some of the best things we learn in our lives are not things that we learned in a classroom. And so they're people who are educated and curious. They want to keep learning and asking questions. Also folks who are really looking for a place to connect and a way to find some purpose and meaning. All of those folks fit in at OLLI. Whoops. And I would say when I do new member welcomes, often people will say things like, "This was the first thing I did when I moved, was I looked up an OLLI program and I joined. And I'm here because I know that through this community I can meet other people very quickly who share my values of aging well and lifelong learning. I can find ways to engage with the community, both here in this program, but also sort of as a launch pad to other volunteering opportunities in the community. And last, because I'll feel at home if I have sort of a regular schedule of I'm taking these classes, I'm going to these programs. It's just a way to really quickly get grounded in a new place. I always like to share this story. I learned it at a social event. I was there, and these two women showed up, and you can tell that one is older and one is younger, and that's kind of an unusual thing for me to see at a social event. And so I walked over and introduced myself, and I met these two wonderful women. So I want to tell you their story. They are mother and daughter, Spence and Lorna. Lorna lives in Durham. She's the older woman in this picture, and Spence is her daughter. She lives in Winston-Salem. That doesn't seem so far apart. On a really good day, you can make that drive in an hour. But during COVID, people weren't making that drive. And so they found themselves somewhat cut off from being able to visit. And Lorna had been taking classes at OLLI at Duke. We moved to a completely online format. We had never really done online before COVID. But we stayed curious and we learned. And they decided they would take a class together, which makes Spence one of our younger OLLI members. And they have a shared love of Broadway musicals. And so they enrolled in a Broadway musicals class taught by master instructor Alan Teasley, and they loved it. They fell in love with not just the program, but with the people in their class. And so they started these like hanging out virtually in class, and then they would get on the phone afterwards and they would talk about what they had learned in class. They learned about the sound of music. They would wave to each other. They made homemade masks that were inspired by Phantom of the Opera and wore those to class one day. And so they found a way to turn what was a dark season for many of us into something that was a little bit brighter. And they have continued to take a Broadway class together every single term since. And that's how I ended up meeting these two really delightful people. I share that story because I have 5 kids. They do not all live where I live. And I love the idea of using this as a way to stay connected to friends and family who aren't right here. So if you moved from somewhere else and you have a friend back in New York or down in Florida or even out on the West Coast in California, one idea I would submit to you is take a class together online. Use that as a way, almost like an online book club, but an online learning, and then make some time to talk about it during the week. But use it as a way to stay connected. We have a fitness class that we teach online, and one of my friends, Eric, takes this class with his parents every week. And he says, you know what I love about it is I'm getting exercise and moving my body. I'm getting to see my parents do it. And I have a sense of how they're doing because I watch them on their Zoom box. And it's a great way for us to stay in touch. So be creative. Here's a picture of Halloween week in one of our online classes. And just some quotes from folks that have been part of our program. And I'll tell you that I hear these over and over and over again, that people have really made friends. This has been a really important part of this chapter of people's lives, and that people move here. I mean, they literally decide to move to this area because of programs like OLLI. So it's really an honor for me to be part of that and to offer lifelong learning. And this is what we do. We try to help people stay curious and connected and growing throughout life. And then I think since I have control of the screen, I think I'd like to show you really quick our website, because I think it gives a pretty good sense of what we do. If you Google OLLI at Duke, you'll end up here. And this website is not beautiful. It is going to be completely remade this year. But if you end up here now, you'll find there's some really neat things on here. What I want to point out is that our catalog is always right on the website. And it works pretty much like a paper catalog, except it's not paper. We're trying to be good stewards of the environment. The internet here is remarkably slow. I mean remarkably slow. Normally this loads right up. But what I'll show you really quickly is you can get a sense for, I'm going to the classes, I promise, some of the things that we do. But here you can see all of the different disciplines that we have: economics, hands-on art, history, literature and languages, performing arts, photography, religion and philosophy, science and tech, society and culture, wellness and writing. You can click on these and they'll take you right to that section of the catalog. And then this is a good example. For each class, we'll list out if it's in person or online. Here's a description of the class. The format for this class is lecture plus Q&A. If there's a recommended text, or in some cases a required text, it will be here. And then a description about the instructor, how many times it meets, what day of the week, what time it meets, where it meets, how many people will be in the class, and what the cost is. I would say the cost of our classes is about $15 to a session, roughly. So if it's a 6-week class, it'll be about $90. We use that to pay for our lease at the Judea Reform Congregation, where we teach most of our classes, as well as to provide a small honorarium for our instructors. And I think I'll show you one other thing, and then I'll take some questions if you have any. And on this website, the other thing I would show you for current members is we have, all right, I'm going to show you 2 other things, I'm sorry. I am kind of proud of what we do. We have special interest groups. These are member-organized, member-led groups that meet when on the schedule they decide. Most of them meet once or twice a month. But these are really pretty fascinating groups. We have a craft group. We have a group that meets regularly with Duke undergrads for a Socratic dinner and conversation. We have people who organize mystery book conversations, public policy conversations, short stories. We have a singles group that's very active. So there are lots of ways to get involved just with other members who've organized things. And then we have a pretty robust travel program. This was a picture from the trip we did to Normandy, France last year. It was fantastic. A little bit about OLLI Travel, and then the upcoming trips that we already have on the books for the rest of 2026 and in 2027. So we would love to have you come join us for any or all of what we do. But I would say whether you participate in OLLI at Duke or in programs here or at NC State or anywhere else, just keep learning and stay curious. It's the best thing you can do for yourself and the people who love you. Questions? Comments? Yeah.
What were the other locations you said?
OLLI has a program at NC State, at Duke, UNC Asheville, UNC Wilmington, and then there are, in addition to those 4 programs, there are 120 other programs around the country that are all OLLIs. Similar in, yeah, the mission's the same. The actual manifestation of what the program looks like varies based on the member-driven priorities in each individual OLLI. There is a membership fee. It's $60 a year.
When you join, do you join by location or are you joining for the whole United States?
That's a great question. You are joining a specific OLLI. So we share a name, and we do, I collaborate with the other OLLI directors here in North Carolina, and I meet every 18 months with all the OLLI directors. But each OLLI is, I would say, individually operated.
Other questions? Can you speak to the travel?
Yeah.
That caught
Can
my
I sign you
attention.
up? Yeah, so our travel program is only open to members of our OLLI at Duke. We collaborate with Duke Travels for all of our international trips, and part of the joy of that is they will assign one Duke faculty person to every trip that they help put together. So we always have a Duke faculty member on those trips, and then the rest of the membership is made up of OLLI members. And those faculty are there to provide, narrative and commentary, but they also give usually 2 lectures during the week, which makes it unique. It's something a little bit different. The domestic trips that we do, we put those together, members, instructors, and our local travel agent, we put those together ourselves. And Brandon Warner over at Florida Travel does an amazing job helping make all of those itineraries, building them and running them smoothly. But the genesis for all our domestic travel is really member-driven. Hence the New York City Opera and Art, that's being driven by one of our instructors who is an opera expert, and another instructor who is an art expert. And they said we should go to New York and see these things. So we're going to go see the opera at the Met, and we're going to go to the museum and take a private tour. And we have behind the scenes at the Met. And so that's just an example. But everything that we do locally, we dream up ourselves. Yeah.
Typical, they're full year out.
Yes. Most of these trips fill 6 to 8 months ahead of time. So, and
How many people typically are on one of the trips?
most of our trips are between 20 and 40 people. We don't really want to go any bigger than that. And I would say we probably average 26 to 28 is kind of our sweet spot. This civil rights tour, which we did last year and had a long wait list for it, and people said, can you please do it again? And the people came back, and now a bunch more people want to go. We'll do 40 people on that trip, but we'll divide into 2 groups. Yeah. But I'm trying to get these dates out as far as I can in advance because people want to be able to pencil in on their calendar, not plan over it, so that when it opens, they can register.
How comprehensive is your coverage for the trip? Do you take care of everything from when you leave Raleigh until you get back, airfare?
On our international trips, it's completely covered, and you can opt in or out of airfare. Some people want to book their own airfare and do extensions or like pre or post extensions, or you can book your airfare through the travel agency, and they'll take care of everything pretty much airport to airport. On our domestic trips, it varies. We've been largely not including airfare because most people say things like, oh, I have points on Delta, or I always fly American, and we just want people to have those choices. So we'll say if you land between 2 and 5 in the afternoon, we've got your transportation covered. Otherwise, grab a taxi, meet us at the hotel. So they do vary a little bit, but we try to make them so that the burden of logistics are not on the members, that we sort of take that off people's plate and make it just enjoyable travel.
So,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead, Tom.
What was the one up above, if you scan the screen down, was that cruise?
The holiday markets?
Cruise there?
Yes, that's a Rhine River holiday markets cruise.
So there's a Duke faculty member, but is there a tour guide? As well.
Either myself or Brandon
Okay.
go on all these trips to handle logistics on the ground.
Okay, yeah.
And the occasional, I forgot my wallet at the
Yeah.
hotel or whatever happens,
You
we
help
handle
fill
all
in.
of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything this year is finished.
We are full
full.
for this year. But I would say if you have any interest, subscribe to our newsletter, because we announce all of this through our newsletter ahead of time so that you can plan and get these things on your calendars too. We'll also have a wide variety of local travel options, just day trips. We haven't published those for the fall yet, but walking tours of downtown Hillsborough, food tours. There's a movement to go to the Whirly Gig Park. Has anybody been there? Yeah, folks who want to go there. We've got a bunch. There's just a lot cooking.
Speaking of how long it takes to get signed up, how about your classes? What's the typical lead thing that you have to get signed up and get in?
That's a really good question. We'll publish our catalog for this coming fall right around the beginning of August. We'll start registration the 3rd or 4th week of August, but we'll announce those dates well ahead of time. We will have 2 or 3 classes that will fill instantly as soon as registration starts, and I can tell you what they are. Mahjong will fill like that. We have a class called Stay Put or Move On. Always fills like that. In part because we keep it really small, so it's 4 lectures to help people think through like aging in place versus moving to a CCRC and all the different options therein. But then they spend 6 weeks going and visiting some of the CCRCs in the area, and because of those site visits, we keep that class to 25 people, but we offer it every term. We're going to actually lottery for that one so that people don't feel like whoever has the fastest fingers is the person who gets in. So that one will lottery this year, and that'll be a little bit different. But we're trying to take the stress off of people who are like, every year I try to get in this class and I can never get a spot. 25 people do always get a spot. So those 2 will fill really, really fast. The other ones will fill some will fill in the first few days of registration. But even as we move into the start of classes, we'll have some spaces.
I'm curious if, you just mentioned the one aging in place, and we've talked a lot about that here. And do you allow, even though you said it's 25 people because you toured as part of the class, do you let other people come in and just audit the class?
We do.
Do a Zoom and listen to what you're talking about,
Yeah.
as opposed to taking the...
On that particular class, we'll have an in-person version that's 25 people that includes all the site visits, and we'll have 25 slots for people to come just for the lectures and not do the site visits. And
Also lottery?
Yes, it will also be a lottery
Okay.
for those
Wow.
25 slots.
That's kind of crazy. I
It's
mean, we
heavily
know,
in demand.
Yeah, we know that there's a lot of demand because we've started doing monthly tours of senior communities. And I say we, there's a number of you in the room who've participated. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk about this, but tomorrow the elevators are not working at Walton Woods, so it's been canceled for tomorrow. because there's 5 stories. Because I said, well, I think we could do it. She goes, remember? And I said, oh, that's right. So she's working on rescheduling. I've given her dates, and then we'll communicate that to you. But we had 23 people confirmed for tomorrow. So it's become increasingly more popular as people learn about it. There's just so much demand.
And plus, we've run CCRCs ourselves, just my wife and I, and a lot of times they're 2-3 months out to schedule a visit.
Yeah, and then sometimes many years to get off a wait list.
Oh, certainly. And we've had a lot of discussion
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
And Carol Woods,
Oh,
25 years.
I was going to say, the last time I checked, they said 18 years, so 25 doesn't surprise me.
So you gotta get in before you retire.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get on the,
I'm too late
yeah.
already.
I got on the list at Crowsdale a year ago.
We're on Crowsdale, Twin Lakes, and Glen Eyre. We got all 3. It's kind of like a lottery there. Get on
Yeah.
and then pick when you're ready.
It is, I mean, it is a really interesting space to be in because we have an aging population and people are living longer, right? So when they admitted people 20 years ago, life expectancy was a lot lower than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there are a lot of complicated factors why it feels like a really tight space, a really tight market.
Well, there's many people who around many places around here that you can go and look at.
Yeah.
They said in nationwide, less than 2% of the people our age live in one of those places
Right.
nationwide.
A CCRC.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. There just aren't enough.
there aren't enough.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Other questions?
I will tell you, Tom, since you asked, if you go to our website and click on any of these, it'll take you to the brochure for that specific trip, and you can read in great detail the itinerary, what it includes, what it
Nice.
doesn't include, all of that. So all that information is right there. But you can read about the ones you're not too late for. That's what you want to read, right?
Plan ahead.
Yeah.
So, I was a member years ago.
How about that? She's got an OLLI at NC State card.
And I stopped going because it's all the way on Western Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too stressful trying to get to morning classes.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, any potential in opening up something like that here, up here in Wake Forest?
It's a great question.
Let me see, I think I went 15, I took numerous classes, I went on numerous trips.
Mm-hmm.
Great gal that scheduled all the trips, the day trips were phenomenal.
Yes.
And then I stopped because of the distance, it was just too stressful getting there.
I hear you.
And I think when you're older, that plays a part in getting people to participate, the distance you have to travel.
Right. I think distance is a factor, which is why I sort of just named from the beginning. It's a drive from Durham to Wake Forest. Most of our classes are in Durham, but we do occasionally have a class this direction, more Raleigh than Wake Forest, and some of our special events are this way. Most of the people who don't live in sort of the Durham, Chapel Hill area that are part of our program are taking online classes, or they're participating in travel and special events.
There are apparently, Jacob was mentioning our AV
Yeah.
specialist. There's 3 OLLI classes here at the center, and I'm not sure which ones they are, and he just stepped out, so we can ask him when he comes
Yeah.
in. They're through the NC State
NC
program.
State, mhm.
So there's a smattering of offerings, and perhaps more, depending on how popular those are.
Right. That's good to know. So it sounds like you might have options with the NC State OLLI's program here, and they run a great program too.
And it might be a possibility if there's, you're all sitting in the same room, and a lot of you are on the same tours every month together, and have even become friends through those processes. So perhaps you carpool together. Maybe somebody's willing to make the drive, and you take some classes together. So that might be a possibility. Might be
Yeah.
an answer for some.
It's a good idea. I have a couple people who drive in from farther away. I actually have somebody who drives in from north of Charlotte. which is about 2 hours. But they will stack classes, so they'll take like a class and then a lunch break and then a class, so that it kind of they just make a day of it, and that's kind of their OLLI day each week. So there are different ways people navigate that, but I do want to like emphasize that there are lots of lifelong learning opportunities outside of programs like OLLI. We do it really well. There are other people who do it well too.
I have a slide, actually. I'm going to share some
Yeah.
information. Any other questions for Rhonda? No? Okay.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yep, I'm going to switch over to my computer. Thank you, Rhonda. It's very far. There we go. I think, let's let it have a second to. It is. It's thinking. That's kind of interesting what it did. Trying to get it to reboot. And we've lost Jacob. Okay, so while that's thinking about it, I'm going to talk about some of these other opportunities, which hopefully the screen will come up. So Senior Center, I think you're all very familiar with the fact that there's all kinds of programs here. There's also a number of things at public libraries. So you could check out the public libraries locally. Workshops, lectures, lots of expert-led video courses. Parks and Rec Community Centers, some of those will have a programming. Rhodes Scholars, North Carolina universities and local community colleges. I'm not sure exactly has anyone taken any classes at Wake Tech? I know they offer some. Then there's some other YouTube platforms, Khan Academy, edX, EDX, and Coursera. There we go. Okay, so down here at the bottom are the last ones that I mentioned: Coursera, edX, Khan Academy, and YouTube platforms. So those are all some additional things that you can check out and wouldn't require driving anywhere since they're online. Okay. So I thought it was interesting, and Rhonda touched on this, but the benefits of lifelong cognitive enrichment. It builds a cognitive reserve, strengthens neural networks. We know that if you don't use it, you lose it. Research, well, it's true, right? Research reported in 2026, and this was a small sampling. It was 2,000 older adults, but they had nearly a 40% lower dementia risk. Delayed development of Alzheimer's and delayed development of mild cognitive impairment by 7 years. That's a long stretch if you can really push everything out, if you're susceptible to that. Now, I'd like to see a bigger study, actually. I'd like to see a larger group of people studied, but I think it's something that we probably already know, that we need to be working the noodle. That's why people play the games in the morning and the word games and so forth. So now we're to housekeeping. So we have a new, if you don't know about it already, calendar that's available on the website, southernAccentHomes.com. And so this is, you can check on each thing, and it will tell you a little more about what's going on that day. So all of our seminars, Downsizers Club. If I'm here for coffee, cafe, and you have questions, you're always welcome to stop in and have breakfast and hang out and talk, but you can also pick up the phone and call me if you want to. So those are all on the website. And we have a new schedule for the rest of the year now. So you have that postcard that's in front of you is the first time you've seen it, unless you were in Downsizers last month. I did have them then. So this is the schedule from July through December. So we're going to have Aging in Place next month. We'll have an expert talk about that. the pitfalls of insuring home and auto, specifically for seniors, senior living, what to expect and what you might not expect with senior living. We'll have an update on Medicare 2027 in October, savvy retirement planning, and building brain health. So a little bit of everything.
Savvy thing, is that LPG?
It is LPG.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Rob will be here then. So, so this is an all-encompassing retirement planning company. So not only are they wealth advisors, but they can also help with reducing your tax load. They take a look at your estate planning, all of it. So they take a bigger look at everything rather than having everything in silos, as far as having a wealth advisor, having a tax advisor, having an attorney, which you would still work with an attorney for the estate planning if you need that done, but that's what they do. And we have, obviously, an insurance specialist for the 2 months with insurance. And I do not remember who the speaker is for December. That's been too long since I scheduled that. It'll be a surprise. We'll know then, I promise. Let's see. So the monthly seminar, did anyone bring a friend who has never been here before? Because we always have a $100 drawing, although sometimes it's just one person. So you're new here, yes? But did anyone invite you that's here today? Okay. Okay. Well, but she's not here, so yeah. So remember, if you invite a friend that's new, we have a drawing for a $100 gift card. So Downsizers Club, you have 2 flyers there that are downsizers. So this one has the last date for this 6-month run. This is the June date, which is next week. And then you have the schedule. So this, you can see that it's a little different. You got this block along the side. These are the dates for July through December. If you haven't come already, come check it out. We get a lot accomplished as far as working through the process, eating the elephant a bite at a time, working through getting the house decluttered. And if you decide you want to move somewhere else at some point in time, you're prepared, if that's the goal. And if it's not, if it's just to declutter, that's okay too. So this is next month's tour. Who else on the schedule for Walton Wood? I just want to see. I know 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we'll call everyone else, but you all know, and we'll call you and let you know when it's rescheduled. Or email. Okay. So Glen Eyre is scheduled for July 14th. So they're actually going to do the tour first, and then lunch will be provided, but it's like after the tour, you can just go in the cafeteria or dining room and have lunch, and they'll provide that for you. So Michelle will be sending out the reservation email for this if you would like to attend. This is our first continuing care retirement community that we're touring. So all the rest have been independent living and or like with Walton Wood that's scheduled this month, it was 3 levels of care. So this will be your first opportunity to see a community where you have a buy-in and a Care for Life program. Coffee Cafe, I'll be back. I just spend my Wednesdays here at the Senior Center. If it's Wednesday, you can pretty much count on seeing me here. Most months, most Wednesdays. And then replays of the seminars are available for those that are recorded. You can always share that with your friends if there's somebody who needs to check that out. It's on southernaccenthhomes.com. And if you haven't already, if you can scan this QR code, please like or follow. We need to get that up. I'm terrible about asking, and my website designer, I just had lunch with her this week, and she's like, so you need to work on this. So if you haven't liked us already on Facebook, please do, because that helps get the word out, right? Any questions or any last comments? I'd really like to thank Rhonda today for rolling with the punches because we've been a little tech challenged today. So I really appreciate it. Let's give Rhonda a big round of applause. Thank you so much for coming all the way over here. It was a sojourn, I know. And thank you all for attending, and look forward to seeing you at the next event. Have a good day.